I think we all are, depending on the day.
We don't all name them, but we
We
have
don't
them.
exactly, and we have them,
Yeah.
and they're coming out. Certain people trigger those characters, and
Right.
I just think we have them. But growing up, being in musicals, being an international thespian, where I would go and monologue competitions,
You
drive
did?
2 hours away.
How old were you when you were doing that?
This was all through high school. Through high school,
So you were
yeah.
doing theater in high school.
Oh, doing yes, high school, and then prior to that, I had I was in talent showcases. Then I did a cappella choir, and then I would do after school Shakespearean programs, and I was a writer also for the Young Playwrights Roundtable at the Coterie Theater in Kansas City, Missouri.
What
So
kind of was that? A small theater, community theater kind of thing, or?
yeah, so they would let like 12 students write these short stories,
Oh wow,
and if your short stories were good enough, then the local actors would perform them, and people could come and
wow.
watch. And so I grew up singing and acting pretty much all my life,
Do you
and
remember what your first stories were?
you know what? I don't. I need to, I think because I got kicked out of the program because my mom and I I was sharing a car with my mom,
Yeah.
and my mother, was an essential worker, and she would sometimes have to stay late to clean. And
Right.
so if she was late picking me up from school, that meant I was late getting to the after school program.
Oh.
And so I was late too many times and they kicked me out. So
Oh.
I think I just pushed that part of my life outside of
Oh, really?
my spirit and my body. It was traumatizing because I loved that program. And my heart was broken.
Oh, that's too bad. And so you focus more on the music after that?
No, I went on to performing arts school in New York. I went to the American Musical and Dramatics Academy, fresh out of high school. And I went there and I studied musical theater. I studied acting. I studied sight singing, all of the things because I wanted to do musical theater. But then I said, I think it's cooler and it's better to do it on my own terms so that I'm not sounding like everybody.
Yeah.
I love these techniques and learning how to use my voice. So I took from it what I needed to apply on my albums and in my life, but I did not want to sound like everybody, and I didn't like the roles that were offered on Broadway.
So that it was good that you knew that early on, and that you were at least. So how did then once you knew that, and once you knew you wanted to go into being a recording artist, how does that start?
I moved to Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Yep, I wanted to be around other Black creatives.
Yeah.
To be around other Black musicians, actors, and then my best friend was going to school at Clark Atlanta University. And I ended up moving to that college campus where Morehouse and Spelman and Clark exist. And I started meeting other artists, other Black creatives who were searching, who, were coming from different walks of life and had something they wanted to say,
That's great.
And I started being a part of an arts collective. We formed this arts collective called Wonderland. And in Wonderland, you have actors, you have musicians, you have screenwriters, you have poets, you have so many different types of visual artists. And we just were like, we want to create a different blueprint.
Yeah.
We want to start an arts collective that, does these art stunts through music, through visual art. And we want people to look to us in the same way that we look to Paisley Park.
Yeah.
We were excited about this new era, of artists coming together.
And you did it.
We are doing it still,
Some of the original people from Atlanta are still with you?
Yes, absolutely.
And so when you started it, you had people from all different realms, from music, from visual arts, from what else? Dance, everything?
Dance, everything. Yeah. Public speakers.
Speakers.
Yeah.
Actors.
Everything you can think of.
And then how did that evolve? Because that's your label now, isn't it?
Yeah. So the Art Society is like the tree, like the big macro idea. And then we have Wonderland Records. Mm-hmm. We also have Wonderland Pictures. So I have a production company where we are producing films and television shows.
Do you like acting?
Do I like it?
Yeah.
I love acting.
Yeah.
I love taking on characters that are different from myself and also that are in me that I'm ready to get out. You know?
Right. Yeah,
I love being a part of films like Moonlight and Hidden Figures that honor people in our communities.
Yeah.
Voices we hadn't seen amplified on screen before.
Yeah.
History that teaches the rest of America about, who we are as a people.
Yeah.
Reminding folks that we're not monolithic, that we, from NASA to the ghettos to, arts collectives to the strip clubs, we are multifaceted, we are brilliant, and there's so much nuance in us, and that's what I like doing. I like bringing those characters to screen.
It's great. And what's Antebellum about?
Antebellum is a psychological thriller. I filmed that in New Orleans, and I play an author, Veronica Henley. And I don't want to spoil things, but
right.
I think that this film is right on time.
Oh, good.
In terms of where we are politically, in terms of where we are when we're dealing with race. But it's a psychological mind bender. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I watched your season of Homecoming. I watched all of it.
Thank you.
That's a very frightening possibility. That particular problem of all of a sudden not knowing who you are, or what you've done, or that. I thought you handled that very well. Were you able to sort of really feel what that would feel like?
Yes. I had to do a lot of research. I had to imagine, envision myself.
What kind of research?
Watching movies.
Yeah.
I watched some of my favorite films like Memento, where he's dealing with memory loss. I watched the Bourne Identity films. I watched this film from Nicole Kidman called Before I Go to Sleep, where she wakes up every morning and doesn't know who she is or who her husband is. And then also doing research on short-term, long-term memory loss, amnesia, all of that, because it does happen. And I didn't want to play the character one note. I didn't want her to be like disoriented the entire show, the entire season.
Right.
Because what I'm finding is when you can't remember something, it's frustrating for you.
Yeah.
The person, you're mad at yourself and trying to hide that frustration and also get answers from people that you don't know if you can trust because you don't know who did this to you.
Right.
And my character wakes up in the middle of a boat. She has no idea who she is or what happened to her, and she's going on, this hunt for this search for self identity.
Yeah.
And she's frustrated, but she also has to get answers. She doesn't know who to trust. It's tough.
And there's a horrible vulnerability to that. Oh man, I couldn't even imagine, because you naturally want to protect yourself, but you have no fucking idea who to trust or what happened to your brain. And you just have to move through the world like that.
Yeah, you don't. It's frightening.
Yeah.
It's frightening. I think, this show, one of the reasons I signed on was what it said about how we treat our vets. I play a vet.
Yeah.
And Walter Cruz, who's played by the incomparable Stefan James, he also is a vet, and
he's great
with trauma. And, it had a lot to say about how we treat our vets when they come from war.
Uh-huh.
What kind of resources are we putting into mental health? What type of education, are we giving to what it means to show up for our vets when they're having PTSD episodes? This also talks about what it means to be a citizen over, a capitalist in capitalism. Mm-hmm. What it means to show up for your people and want the health and the well-being over capitalism. And it has a lot to say about corporations.
Yep.
And how lots of them, have historically, and even we're seeing now, they put capitalism over integrity, over truth.
Of course. Are you kidding me? It's like they're opening up states with the disease rampaging.
Absolutely.
You know, just because people they're playing off on people's we're bored, we're tired of it. We want to believe it's gone. And this is an amazing example of what we're dealing with not only the police brutality protests but with COVID-19, that the people have had enough of this shit. I mean, and obviously, I'm not a person of color, so I'm not speaking from that place, but just with, people like with corporate interests and the interests of capitalism, basically saying that they don't care enough about people, that if they die, as long as the system sustains. Like right now, I don't know how you feel, but in the face of all this, I have no idea what's going to happen at all anymore. Do you?
You know what? You got to think about chattel slavery.
Okay.
That was born out of capitalism.
Right.
Capitalism.
Right.
You think about where we are now with COVID-19, and COVID-19 is killing Black people disproportionately.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And Black and brown people are our essential workers. Mm-hmm. Like telling us to go back to work, telling people in my family to go back to work, in my community to go back to work, is putting them at a higher risk of contracting COVID-19 and dying from it. Our healthcare systems, because of systemic racism.
Yep.
We don't have, our healthcare is not the same as white folks and those who are privileged in this company, in this country. And all of this is connected. All of it's connected. And for me, I know that you're saying like, I can't speak, for Black folks. No, you can't, but you can have conversations with other white people.
Yes.
You can have conversations about the why. Why are we saying Black Lives Matter as though Black people are objects?
Right.
And not humans and subjects to be studying. We are brilliant. But why are you in your living rooms or why are you afraid, and not specifically speaking to you, but why are white people afraid to have those conversations? And my ask is that white people have these conversations, because white people are the people who can only fix this. The systemic racism, this is a conversation that white people have to have about their privilege in this country. This is a conversation that you have to have about your ancestors who started the importing of our people into this country to work and to do the labor that you didn't want.
Nothing. Right.
Nothing. Period. Why did the police start? It started from slavery, when they were catching other slaves, working with slave owners.
Right.
So those conversations and that reading that needs to be that needs to be had. That's work that white people are going to have to do. And we're going to keep speaking out. Yeah. We're going to keep protesting. We're going to keep doing what we have been doing. We are going to continue to show up for our people. But this is not going to end unless white people really dismantle the system of white supremacy. This is not going to end until you dismantle systemic racism, dismantle everything that's happening in the police forces, and until we really defund police. Defund them and use that money to reinvest in healthcare, to reinvest in education.
Reintegration into society.
Absolutely. Because, see, we tried to do this in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Black people tried to pull themselves up from their bootstraps, the boots that we didn't come into this country having.
Yeah.
And that was burned down. The KKK, the police bombed and burned down what we built. And until you start pouring into our communities, it's the talk is cheap.
Well, I'll do what I can from where I am.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I appreciate you talking to me. And I'm a big fan of your talent. I think you're amazing. And just please stay safe and keep doing what you do.
I appreciate you. It was a pleasure to talk to you and to be able to express how I'm feeling these days and to hear from you. And I look forward to your, to deeper allyship from you.
Okay. Yeah. You got it. Thank you, Janelle. So much. Take care.
All right.